we can also think of it as not trying them all, but just guessing the right one. If there is a way to do it, we like to say we're guessing the right way. We're taking the right choice. So you hear people use the word guess a lot with non-determinism. That really bugged me when I first learned it. I go, what do you mean guessing? How do you know if you get it right? And then later on you guess and you have to check if you get it right. And sometimes you check and sometimes you don't. So I'm going to try to stay away too much from that term because it bugged me and maybe it'll bug you. But it is a perfectly fine term. It just took me time to get used to it. You chew up all these zeros and ones, and at some point you guess that you're done. So you're up to the second to last symbol. Here's a 0. Here's the last symbol, 0. And then you accept. This time there's no loop on this last state. We don't want to chew up any extra symbols. We want to really end in 0, 0. Anything out of here is dead. And this is it. Any string that this accepts has to have a 0, 0 on the end of it. Otherwise, you can't get to a final state. And any string that has a 0, 0 on the end of it has a choice that will make it go here. Just eat up all the symbols until you get to the 0, 0, and then move along this path. So we accept all the strings with a 0, 0 on the end, and all strings that don't have a 0, 0 on the end, there is no way to accept them. Therefore, this machine works. You have to do both those things to describe why your machine works. That you accept all the things you're supposed to, and that you don't accept anything you're not supposed to. Because it's easy to accept things you're not supposed to with a non-deterministic machine by accident. But we're OK here. So now what we're going to do is convert this back to a regular deterministic machine in a mechanical process that will be very logical. Yeah. Yeah.
What happens if you hit just 2 zeros going through this way? Then you're going to set that in state.
Yeah, that would be a... Oh, I see. No, because here, Neil's asking about this. You want to make sure we don't accept something like this, right? So it's true you can do 0, 1, 1, and then make the choice, guess. Now I'm at the end of the string, I go 0, 0, but there's no arrows coming out of this final state, and there's still a symbol left. So if I get a 1 out of here, I die, I crash. In other words, if you're doing a computation, well, I guess it's a new rule in some sense. If there's no arrow telling you where to go, then you don't go anywhere. Then you don't accept. I could just do this also. I could put it in like this. That would be explicitly putting in the dead state. It would be equivalent. But leaving out arrows means that they go to dead states. That's the assumption in a non-deterministic machine, and you can define it that way.
But if you're at that final state and you got another 0 in, wouldn't you still have an acceptable string, or would you just be saying that?
That's a good point. Sharon made a good point. What if you were there and you got another 0, right? And then it looks like you rejected it, right? So how would you accept something like this? Well, the point is that actually we made a bad guess. If we pick this 0 to be the second to last and we go 0, 0, and then we find ourselves with one extra string, it's true we won't accept it, but there's still a way to accept it. We just have to make our guess over here. So that's an important point. It's not symmetrical. Just because there's a lot of ways to not accept strings you should accept doesn't mean that there isn't a way to accept them. Does that make sense? So the point you brought up is really good, and it's subtle. Yeah.
It would also still be valid, I think, if you just had an arrow with a 0 going back to itself on that final state, but no output for 1.
That would certainly be fine. Right, right. But you know what? That's like screaming determinism. You have to think too hard. In non-determinism, your gut instinct should be to leave it blank because you want to end there and you're done. But you're 100% right, and it shows good understanding of the deterministic way to look at it. You could certainly loop back there. That would be perfect. Yeah. Question?
It's kind of like allowing finite state machine system crashes.
Exactly.
Say that if
exactly.
you get an extra thing, you can't go anywhere, you crash.
That's a very good way to put it. Right. Heather's got a good way to describe it. If you're actually still reading a symbol and the machine doesn't tell you what to do, that's like you got interrupted. That's like, you know, unknown instruction. Die, and you don't accept. So the machine can crash. All right, let's turn this machine into a deterministic machine in a way that you'll be able to do for all the others, any other non-deterministic machine you have. The way to do this is to first label the states. We need to have some way to refer to them. So call them whatever you want, A, B, and C. And what we're going to do here has applications all the way throughout this whole hierarchy of finite state machines. So I want to make sure everybody gets it. We're going to pretend that we are another finite state machine that's deterministic, and we are trying to make the decision as to whether this finite state machine accepts or doesn't accept. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to keep track of where this finite state machine might be. We're going to keep track of all the possible computations this might make in another finite state machine that's deterministic. Sounds a little vague. Let's be more specific. I start in state A in my new deterministic machine. If I see a 0, where could I be in this machine? I could be in A or in B. I'm going to remember that in a new state by just writing the states in there. This represents that I could be in state A or B. I'm going to make another finite state machine that keeps track specifically of what states I could possibly be in after I've read through any string at all. If I get a 1 here, where could I be? Just in A. That's easy. Now I go on to AB. I'm in A or B. I get a 0. Where might I be? A or B? I get a 0. I could be in A, I could be in B, or I could be in C.
Would you really be able to be in B?
Yeah, because I might have been in A here. And from A on a 0, I could be in B. Yeah, so I could, definitely. Well, what about a 1 on an A or B? Well, there's no place to go on a 1 from B. I crash. We'll call it a Heather crash. And then from here, you're now immortalized. And from here, 1 goes back to A. So, yes, A or dead. Yeah, I'm going to leave the dead out for a minute. Maybe I should put it in. Should I put in dead?
Wait, that would make it a non-deterministic.
No, it's still deterministic.
If it has 2 possible places it can go on a 1 from A or B. Either
No, this state has only 1 arrow with a 1 coming out of it.
Oh, okay.
Right?
But that doesn't count for the dead.
Yeah, to put in dead.
Oh, to put in the, you're saying,
That would be a second.
we can't just put another 1 into a dead state. Right. We'll talk about the dead state later. Let's deal just with the states we have here, because all we're trying to do is keep track of where it might be in this machine. We don't have to keep track of where it might not be in this machine. It's a little tricky. Where are we done? We did 0, we did A, we did AB. Now we're going to do ABC. If you're in ABC and you get a 0, where can you be? A, B, or C. And if you're in A, B, and C and you get a 1, you're back in A. Well, that's convenient. Now I have no more new states to deal with.
How can you be in C again? If you're in C and you get a 0, wouldn't you be dead?
If I was in C and I got a 0, I'd be dead. But if I was in B and I got a 0, I'd be in C. So this is the set of places that I might end up, assuming that I'm not crashing.
Okay.
This is a deterministic machine that is keeping track of where this machine might be after reading any number of symbols, assuming it doesn't crash. Well, let's run it through in an example.
Is it like there's an implicit or dead in each of those states as well? Or how does that?
No, not really. It's really just keeping track of where this machine could be, assuming this machine... See, this machine doesn't really want to crash. So...
With its free will.
Let's think of it. This, if we run through this machine, which is deterministic on a particular string, let's actually do it. Let's run it through on 0, 1, 1, 0. So here, Chris, 0, 1, 1, 0. That means I know, I can tell you without even looking at this machine, that if you ran this on this non-deterministic machine, the only places you could end up would be in A or B. How? I could do 0, 1, 1, 0. That leaves me in A. I could do 0, 1, 1, 0. That leaves me in B. I could run a machine through on this deterministic machine that you just created and tell you when I'm done where it could possibly be in this machine. I don't ever want it to be in a dead state, so I didn't keep track of when it might be in a dead state. So there's no implicit or dead state, because non-deterministic machines only accept things that end up in a final state. So I don't really care when things go to dead state, so I'm not keeping track of it. Okay? So we're not going to keep track of it.